how's it going?
Hi, good.
Sorry, real quick. Please hang out though if you got time. Love to catch up.
I think I've seen like your like kind of
Setup? Yeah.
here before. Like, so what is it that this is?
Yeah, so today I table under International Student Outreach, and we are a Christian student group that serves internationals. We want to introduce people to Jesus, and we're part of a church. We're affiliated with a campus church called Maranatha Christian Church. All right, brother, we'll talk soon. Good to see you, Hubert. Glad everything's working out, bro. Yeah, so we're part of Maranatha Christian Church, and so I don't know which you have questions on. All the above.
So like, what is it? Like, what gospel are you like preaching?
Which
right?
one? There shouldn't be more than one. Huh?
But yeah, there shouldn't be more than one.
Exactly. Hopefully it's the right one, you know, the one, you know, the gospel that Paul preached and Jesus and etc. Right?
Well, because even in like Moses, he said that the Messiah was going to preach the covenant at Horeb, right? Ten Commandments.
Right.
And so, like, one of those commandments is like, say, like keeping the Sabbath, which is Saturday.
Yeah.
And even like the Messiah was keeping the Sabbath, and Paul kept the Sabbath throughout the whole book of Acts.
Right.
But then now we have the church that's not keeping the Sabbath. They're saying that, oh, it's the first day of the week when the Messiah even rose on the Sabbath.
That's true. Yeah, we don't observe the Saturday Sabbath as a rule.
But it's one of the 10 Commandments.
Right, that's true. You're absolutely right.
The Messiah said, if you want to enter into life, keep the commandments. And even in Revelation 22, like, those are the people that eat from the tree of life.
Right. And I would say that it's more sophisticated than that. You know, it's not about, obviously, if you read the New Testament, like Galatians, Romans, what you're going to find is that it's not as straightforward as keeping the law, right? Because keeping the law...
Well, Paul makes it clear that in Galatians 3:19 that the law was added for transgression, but transgression to what? Because in like Deuteronomy, Exodus, whatnot, they were given the covenant, the 10 Commandments, because they were taken out of bondage to become a holy people, a royal priesthood. So they're given the 10 Commandments, but then when Moses went up, they broke the 10 Commandments, and then sacrificial law was added. And that's the law that Paul is talking about throughout his writings.
Yeah, I think in terms of the 10 Commandments, that's an interesting point, and I've not heard that before, but I don't find fault with that. I would say, in regards to the only command of the 10 that is subjective, I would argue, is the Sabbath.
Well, all 10 Commandments, you have to keep all 10.
I mean, if you look at Colossians chapter 2, is it?
Okay, so that was to like the new believers that other people were judging them when they were keeping Sabbath.
I mean, that's an interpretation. Do you know that?
What do you mean?
That was the context. Like, all it says, it doesn't.
Well, I mean, like,
it doesn't really give you
verses,
context,
they say that Christ spoiled like the principalities and like all those traditions and stuff, right? And some of those traditions that people have created, say, keeping, like saying that Sunday is the Sabbath when the Sabbath is the seventh day, not the first day. And so those are some of the things.
I don't think that that's clear. I don't think that it's clear that. I mean, I think you could make that argument, but I think you could make the same argument
Mark
about
7, like people use the traditions of men to break the commandment of God, and the Sabbath is one of those commandments.
Which one are you quoting?
Mark 7.
Okay. And you guys use the traditions of men to break God's commands. Okay.
That's what Christ said. And he, like, it was all the time when he was talking to the Pharisees.
2, going back to Colossians 2.
The Pharisees, he was always rebuking the Pharisees because they created these traditions, like, say, and so now we have the same thing happening again. People are saying, oh, you don't need to keep the Sabbath when it's one of the 10 Commandments. And
I mean,
if you break one, you're breaking them all, right?
Paul specifically said in
Paul didn't
Romans.
preach a different gospel. It's the same gospel that the Messiah preached.
I agree, but I'm specifically who said what, right? So specifically Paul, the gospel that he preached, I can't remember the reference, but he says that one man observes, one day above others, another man observes every day alike.
If you read the whole chapter,
and he said, let everyone be fully persuaded
fasting.
in their own mind. I don't think so.
That's talking about fasting. If you read the whole
I don't
chapter,
think
it's
it's about
talking
fasting.
about
No,
fasting.
I mean,
Because
I'll have
some
to look at
people-
that. What chapter is that?
I'm not sure the chapter, but
I think
if
it's
you read from the beginning-
Romans 14, maybe?
Yeah, Romans 14. Because that's talking about people that are fasting. They choose to fast on this day or another day. But if somebody fasts,
I mean, I don't think it's talking about fasting.
it's
in
talking
chapter.
about fasting.
I think you might be talking about another chapter.
But even in like Isaiah 66, like people will be keeping the Sabbath, even when the new heavens and new earth come. And like with that too, like in Isaiah 66,
Hold
a
on,
lot
you're
of
moving
people
too
are.
fast.
Oh, okay.
You gotta slow down. We gotta nail down these arguments here. You're rapid firing me. I know you're passionate about it, which is it's good to be passionate about your conclusions as far as what you think Scripture's saying, and all of us should be fully persuaded in our own minds about what Scripture's saying.
But again, like you said, there's only one gospel, and that's like you still have to keep the 10 Commandments.
I personally don't think that's the gospel. I think that's legalism.
Legalism is saying that you need to keep the sacrificial law, because that's what the Pharisees were doing. They're telling people that you still need to be like getting circumcised, because that was like the
So
tension that they
there is
had.
no mention. I mean, if I look at just a New King James Version search, and I can search any version here that I have, you could look, but Romans 14 doesn't show up with any word that includes fasting. So there's no reference to fasting in Romans 14.
But if
as
you
far
read
as
the
I
whole
know.
chapter, it's talking about fasting.
It doesn't mention fasting.
I mean, it doesn't mean that it's.
I
like
think the
saying-
chapter is talking about eating vegetables, eating meat, drinking wine, and not causing your brother to stumble by by your freedoms. I just read that chapter like yesterday.
Okay.
And so it's not clear in my opinion that it's talking about fasting. Now maybe there's commentaries where that's the context. I haven't read that. What's your name?
Michael.
Parnell.
Oh. I mean,
Nice to meet you, man.
nice to meet you too.
Yeah. So I'm a pastor at the church, and no, we don't hold to your interpretation of the gospel.
But then,
In
like,
short.
if you're just telling people to break the 10 Commandments, then that's just
I'm
lying
not,
to them.
I'm not telling people to break the Ten Commandments.
But
I'm saying
breaking
that
Sabbath
the
is
one
breaking the law.
command in the New Testament that is subjective is the Sabbath. And in my opinion about that is, and the reason for that is that, I've searched through the New Testament, I've looked at anything clear related to Sabbath keeping, and there's no binding Sabbath requirement in the New Testament.
Well, the Messiah was prophesied to preach the covenant at Horeb, which was the 10 Commandments. So it's not like he was prophesied to
Where is
say
that?
all
What are you talking
9. Deuteronomy 18,
Okay.
15 to 19.
Okay.
And
Let's
then
look
he
at
was
that.
prophesied to also
Wait, hold on.
magnify
Let's
the
look
law.
at Deuteronomy.
Okay.
Which
Deuteronomy 18.
Which chapter? Deuteronomy 18. Okay. And what verses?
15 to 19.
Okay. The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from your midst, from your brethren. Him you shall hear according to all you desired of the Lord your God in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of the Lord my God, nor let me see his great fire anymore, lest I die. And the Lord said to me, what they have spoken is good. I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their brethren. He will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I command them. So, I don't think that's clear your interpretation, but I'd have to look further into it. But in my first glance, I don't see what you're talking about.
Well,
So I
because,
think
like,
that's an
talking
interpretation.
about.
If you
Like
look in
it's
the
quoting to Deuteronomy 5, right? And that's all about the 10 Commandments. And if you read that together, it's just quoting
if you look
like,
at the New Testament as a filter for how we should interpret the law and how we should apply the law, say, for example, the Ten Commandments, I think that the New Testament is making clear that there's a lot of aspects of the law have passed away.
Well, it's not saying that.
And in my
because there's a
interpretation of,
distinction
hold on,
between
let me finish my
the Ten
point,
Commandments.
because you're interrupting me. Because I listen to you a lot, and you're bounced around, but I got to address points. So when you look at Colossians chapter 2, in my opinion, it's